Good afternoon, all of you. Today I'm going to deliver a lecture on Introduction to IPR. It is our unit first for the subject Certificate Course in Intellectual Property Right, Credit 2. First is unit number 1, Introduction to IPR. In that session, we are going to cover following points, that is the concept of intellectual property, meaning and definition of intellectual property right, World Intellectual Property Organization concept of property like tangible and intangible property. And also we will highlight a very important point, that is intellectual property as an instrument of development. Learning objective. As far as the learning objectives are concerned, first is to understand the meaning, definition and concept of IPR, to know the importance of intellectual property right, and to understand the scope of intellectual property. Now in this slide, we are going to highlight a very important point, that is what is actually intellectual property means. Intellectual property refers to the creation of human mind like inventions, literary and artistic works and symbol, names, images and design used in commerce. Intellectual property rights are the legal right to intellectual creation of mind like inventions, artistic work, symbol, names, images, which establishes minimum standard of protection. It is a product of human creation and a property that arises from the human intellect. They usually give the creator an exclusive right over the use of his or her creation for a certain period of time. The main purpose of intellectual property law is to encourage the creation of a large variety of intellectual goods. It comprises in two distinct forms. First, literary and artistic work, and second is industrial property. First, literary and artistic work. In this, there are books, painting, musical composition, plays, movies, radio, TV program, performances and other artistic works. How they are protected? By copyright. Second is industrial property. It describes physical matter, that is the product of an idea or the concept for commercial purpose. How they are protected? By patented object, by trademarks, by industrial design, by trade secrets, by layout design, and by geographical indications. Now in this slide, what is actually need for IPR? Intellectual property contributes enormously to our national and state economies. Dozens of industries across our economy rely on the adequate enforcement of their patent, trademark, and copyrights, while consumers use intellectual property to ensure they are purchasing safe, guaranteed product. Actually, we believe in intellectual property rights are worth protecting both domestically and abroad. That is why intellectual property create and support high-paying jobs. Intellectual property intensive industry employs over 55 million Americans and hundreds of millions of people worldwide. Jobs in intellectual property intensive industry are expected to grow faster over the next decade than national average. The average workers in an intellectual property intensive industry earn about 30% more than his counterpart in a non-IP industry. The average salary in intellectual property intensive industry pay $50,576 per worker compared to the national average of $38,768. That's why the role of intellectual property is essential. Intellectual property actually drives economic growth and competitiveness. America's intellectual property right is worth 5.8 trillion, more than the nominal GDP of any other country in the world. Intellectual property intensive industry account for over one third or 38% of total United States GDP. These industries also have 72.5% higher output per worker than the national average, which valued $1,36,556 per worker. Intellectual property accounts for 74% of all US exports, which amounts to nearly $1 trillion. Strong and enforced intellectual property rights protect the consumers and families. Actually, strong intellectual property rights helps consumers make an educated choice about the safety, reliability, and effectiveness of their purchases. Enforcing intellectual property rights ensure products are authentic and of high quality that the consumers recognize and expect. IP rights foster the confidence and ease of mind that consumers demand and markets rely on. Intellectual property helps to generate breakthrough solutions to global challenge. Nearly all of the 300 products on the World Health Organization's essential drug list, which are critical to saving or improving people's lives around the globe, came from the research and development intensive pharmaceutical industry that depends on patent protection. Innovative agriculture companies are creating new products to help the farmers produce more and better product for the world hungry while reducing the environmental impact of agriculture. So IP-driven discoveries in alternative energy and green technology will help to improve the energy security and address climate change. So that's why there is a need to protect the intellectual property rights to generate breakthrough solutions to global challenges. Intellectual property helps in balancing between the innovator's interest and public interest, providing an environment where innovation, creativity, and inventions can flourish and benefit all. Intellectual property rights also encourage innovation and reward entrepreneurs. As far as India is concerned, intellectual property rights in India include the following common type. First is a copyright. It grants the protection of written or published works such as books, songs, films, web content, and other artwork. In patent, the patent rights protect an invention, new business product, or the process. In design, getting a design registration protects the design such as drawing, color, pattern, or combination of design. And in industrial design, an industrial design constitutes the ornamental or aesthetic aspect of an article. A design may consist of three-dimensional features such as the shape or surface of an article, or of two-dimensional features such as pattern, line, or color. In geographical indications and appellations of origin are signs used on goods that have a specific geographical origin and possess qualities, a reputation, or characteristics that essentially attributable to that place of origin. Most commonly, a geographical indication include the name of the place of origin of the good. In trademark, a trademark protects sign, symbol, logos, word, or sound that distinguish between the product and services from the competitors. In trade secret is a company's process or practice that is not public information which provide an economic benefit or advantage to the company or holder of the trade secrets. Trade secret must be actively protected by the company and are typically of the research and development. Look, in this image, there is a shoes, and that shoes, the trademark is applied to protect a name or logo, for instance, and in design aspect, protect the distinctive appearances with a design registration. In patent aspect, it applied to protect a technical solution like a new sole material, and in copyright aspect is given automatically to the photographer of a creative image. So this image speaks volume regarding the concept of trademark, design, patent, and copyright. Now, in this slide, we are focused on the World Intellectual Property Organization. Actually, it is established by WIPO conventions in 1967. It is a specialized agency in United Nations. It promotes the protection of intellectual property throughout the world. Its headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland. The intellectual protection for trademark, industrial design, and appellations of origin is carried out through three registration systems. First is The Madrid System for Trademark. It is the international registration of convenience and cost-effective solution for registering and managing trademarks worldwide and is governed by two treaties which complement each other. These are the Madrid Agreement and the second is the Madrid Protocol. In Hague Agreement, it is a system of international registration, or more correctly, International Deposit of Industrial Design. It is firstly adopted in 1925 and it allows the industrial design to be protected in multiple countries or regions with minimal formalities. Third is the Lisbon Agreement. It is a system of international registration for the protection of appellations of origin. It is a geographical denomination of a country, region, or locality which serve to designate a product originating. Now, in this slide, we will focus on tangible property and intangible property. Actually, tangible and intangible property is an external thing that can be owned or possessed. Property can be divided into two categories, tangible and intangible. The word tangible refers to something that has a definable physical form that can be felt or touched, and the word intangible refers to something that cannot be perceived by the senses. Tangible property consists of real property and personal property. Real property is a property that does not move, such as land and the things that are attached to or built on that land. Personal property is a property that can be moved or any other tangible property that can be owned. Personal property is also called as chattels. Chattels that are attached to the land and that cannot be removed without damaging the land are called as fixtures. Example of fixtures are built-in bookcases and ceiling fans. Intangible property consists of the property that lack physical existence. Example of intangible property include checking and saving accounts, option to buy or sell shares of stock, the goodwill of a business, and a patent. Now, in this slide, we will focus on the intellectual property as an instrument of development. As the knowledge economy advances, more and more of the value of that firm, the overall economy achieved, will come from high value added intangible, including intellectual property in inventions, brands, and works. In many companies, even now, 80% of their market value is attributable to intangible, including intellectual property. In some small company, the only value is the intellectual property they own in an exciting new innovations that they have developed. IPR has truly become an intellectual currency helping to promote economic growth, company competitiveness, and innovations worldwide. The business sector that depends on intellectual property protection represent an important and growing part of every modern economy, particularly as this economy advances from dependence on agriculture, mineral, and low value added manufacturing to higher value products and services. Intellectual property based sector in both developed and developing countries are substantial driver of GDP and employment growth. Patent dependent sector play a similarly important role in overall economy. Less research seems to have been done to date in estimating the economic contribution of patent, trademark, and other IP-reliant sector to the overall domestic or regional economy. Preliminary research done in the UK, however, provided evidence for the intuitively reasonable assumptions that these sectors also account for significant GDP, employment, and related contribution. Branded goods industry reliant on trademark likewise represent a substantial portion of many countries' manufacturing sector. Many sectors that relies on IP protection show disproportionate growth despite trends of declining prices and are strategically important in the economy. It should be noted that the economic benefit generated by sectors reliant on IPR, such as information and communication technology, ICT, are even higher when adjusted to constant dollar, given that the prices of such IPR-based goods and services tend to decline over as time, as explained in the recent US study. IPR generates substantial economic activity, employment, and growth in developing as well as developed countries. Wide range of studies and statistics have demonstrated that not only developed countries but also developing countries can benefit from the GDP, employment, and other economic gains that derive from intellectual property protection and the creative and innovative sector that IP supports. Studies done to date have shown, for example, the copyright-related industry can make economic contribution in developing countries similar in relative importance to their contribution in developed countries. Domestic companies in developing countries also regular and in some countries substantial user of the trademark and patent system both domestically and abroad. In addition, foreign investment and technology transfer in developing countries depend directly on the adequate recognition and protection of intellectual property. Copyright related industry generates substantial GDP and employment contribution. WIPO and other organizations and economists have done several studies on the economic contribution of copyright related industry in developing country as defined by the World Bank as low and middle income country with gross national income per capita of $6,000 or less in 1987 prices, $12,195 in 2009 prices. IPR attracts foreign direct investment and promote research and development and technology transfer in developing country, driving development and economic growth. The OECD has conducted an extensive data survey of 28 of a range of 120 countries classified as developed, developing or least developed, covering the 15 years period 1990 to 2005. The study involved a regression analysis of the relationship between various measures of technology transfer and a set of indexes that quantify the strength of IPRs whilst controlling for other factors. The result of the study show a positive correlation between the strength of the IPR, patent in particular, and foreign direct investment. IP is not the sole driver of the successful economy, but one of the significant policy complement that drives economic success. IPR promotes innovation by providing the legal and economic framework for market-based incentives. Now in this slide, we will focus on the need to protect intellectual property rights. In a nutshell, it is essential to protect intellectual property right. First, the inventor get an exclusive monopoly to use their IP to their benefits, both in terms of uses as well as monetary benefit. The inventor can decide the price of the invention, the marketing and distribution channel, and innumerable ways to turn a profit and earn a high return on investment. Secondly, filing for intellectual property allows the inventor to prohibit other from making monetary benefit. Thirdly, if competitor violate the IP law that protect the inventor can exercise the right to file a court case against the party attempting to benefit from the inventions, and if found guilty, the court may award a financial reward to the inventor to be paid by individual or entity attempt to get a financial benefit from the inventions attributed to the owner of the intellectual property. Progress and good humanity remain in the ability to create and invent new work in the field of technology and culture. Intellectual property protection encourages publication, distribution, and disclosure of the creation to the public rather than keeping it is a secret. Promotion and protection of intellectual property promote economic development, generate new jobs and industries, and improve the quality of life. Intellectual property helps in balancing between the innovator's interest and public interest, provide an environment where innovations, creativity, and inventions can flourish and benefit all.